DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.
Hey there folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson, and today we're going to talk about receiving calf nutrition, and it's something I enjoy visiting about, and I hope that you enjoy this show. We're going to talk about what you do when you get the calves in, how we get them started on feed, and things we need to know during that first 2 to 3 to 4 weeks as we bring calves in from off the cow into the feedlot.
As dependable as the sunrise, in dairy parlors, open pastures, on ranches and feed yards across America, a place where reputation is more than a name, where the science of healthier animals is a way of life. It's the responsibility that drives who we are and what we do. Every decision, every day. It's your livelihood and our responsibility.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need. From prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey there folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here at Iowa State University, and today I want to talk to you all about receiving calf nutrition. And the real thing when we start to think about receiving calf nutrition is that, calves are out on the cow and they're nibbling on grass and they're grazing with the cows, and sometimes the cows in these droughty situations will just wean the calves themselves. But when we start to think about converting that rumen from drinking milk and that abomasum to receiving feed and to receiving hay and to receiving corn, there really needs to be a transition period in which we help that calf develop its rumen and so that it's healthy throughout its entire life span, whether it's a cow, whether it's a something that's going to be used as breeding stock as a bull, or something that we're going to use to feed as a calf in a feed yard. All of these animals have to be transitioned. So the first thing is when we start to get a calf into the feed yard, the first thing I want to have in that bunk is hay. I want to have the hay fluffed up. I want to have it to where those calves can see the hay in the bunk. So I'll use some sort of, a lot of times I like to use cereal grass hay, and we harvest some hay down in southwest Kansas, wheat hay. We might put up some oat hay, different things to that nature, triticale and others. And so when we're thinking about this, something that's familiar to the animal, something that they can consume is vitally important. Now, some people don't like to feed hay right off the bat, but the reason why I like to feed the hay is because calves recognize it. The reason why people don't like to feed hay is if you don't have a hay processor, like seen in this picture, then the hay processor is you. And you're on a flatbed pickup with busting bales and putting them into the bunk and fluffing it up with a pitchfork or something like that. And that's something that's not a lot of fun to do. The other reason people don't like to feed is because it can be messy. And if you've ever gone into a grow yard and you see all the bale string around the grow yard or in the feed alleys, and the hay gets in the feed alleys, and it gives a good place for rodents to make nests and create disease, that can be a problem. So you have to understand that feeding hay is a temporary thing, that when you look at some of Glenn Lofgren's work at New Mexico State, shows how much better those calves do when they get to consume some free choice hay versus just going on to a mixed ration. It can really change the dynamics of what you're going to see in those calves in their health. Now, how long do I feed hay? And what I say is this: I want them to start cleaning it up. So I'll put hay out, get them started on hay until, once they start to consume it at a very consistent manner and they're eating what I'm putting out, then I'll start to top dress some of the milled ration. So I'll take that first starter ration and I'll put that across the top of the hay, let them consume that for a day or two, and then I'll switch them to the milled ration. But so anywhere from 2 to 3 to 5 days, I'll put them on hay, and sometime in there, 2 or 3 days of that will be with milled ration. Now, if these are yearling calves that are coming in and they know how to eat and they go straight to the bunk, I don't mess around with the hay. I'm going to go ahead and put those calves straight on a milled ration, and we're going to get on down the road with those. So I'm going to take a break now. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about that first ration, that first receiving ration that you're going to put in the bunk. You're watching DocTalk here at Iowa State University, and I'm sure glad you joined us. Hey, welcome to Cattle First, sponsored by Boehringer Ingelheim Vet Medica. There are two reasons why animals get sick: overwhelming dose of a pathogen or a suppressed immune system. Number one cause of a suppressed immune system is stress. We need to make sure that we decrease the stress of cattle. Low stress cattle handling, acclimating these cattle when they come to your facility, making sure that cattle can trust you. So building trust with cattle, just like you would with a dog or a horse on your property, is vitally important, because animals that don't trust you won't show you clinical signs. Once you gain those cattle's trust, all of a sudden one of them says, hey, I'm not feeling good, take me to the hospital and treat me. Otherwise, they think you're a predator and they mask their clinical signs and you don't catch them. This has been Cattle First by Boehringer Ingelheim Vet Medica.
Vet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey there, folks. Dr. Dan here at DocTalk. I'm now the department head of animal science at Iowa State University. So I'm wearing some red. I got a new office. It's a lot bigger than what I've accustomed to. And so we're getting used to it. But man, do we have some great people here at Iowa State University and some great producer-oriented programs. So if you get the opportunity to stop into Ames, Iowa, come see us. We'd love to have you. And if you're thinking about a place to go in animal science as a high school senior, or someplace you want to learn swine, you want to learn laying hens, you want to look at turkey finishers, cow-calf or feedlot, we have it all right here, and be glad to spend some time with you. But when we start to talk about transitioning those calves, and we're going to put them on that one ration. So they've eaten the hay, they've top dressed. Now we're gonna put them on what we call the one ration or the starter ration. And the first two things that I think about with a starter ration are not the vitamins and the minerals. When you're going to put sand, little rocks, and big rocks in a bottle, the first thing you want to put in the bottle are the big rocks, because then the little rocks will fill in around the big rocks, and the sand will fill in around the cracks of the small rocks. But if you would put the sand in on the bottom and then the small rocks in, the next thing you know, the big rocks won't even have a chance. And the big rocks in starting calf nutrition are protein and energy. And so we want these calves to consume. One of the questions I get a lot is, can I start calves on silage? Absolutely. Some people will say you can't start calves with a silage-based ration, and they're just wrong. They may have a little bit of a decrease in intake at the beginning, but those calves, once they get used to it, they almost get hooked on silage, and they'll consume it tremendously. And so anything that is lost in the beginning, Steve Lurch and Francis Flaherty at Ohio State have shown you'll more than make that up in the third and the fourth week after the calves have gotten to your yard. I like to start the calves out on a ration that is about 55 to 65% concentrate. So what's concentrate? Concentrate would be the corn, the vitamin and mineral premix, the protein, the fat, Those are the things that I start as concentrate. So about 55 to 65% of the ration is going to be that. That means everything else that's left over, the 35 to 45% is going to be roughage. It's going to be hay. When it comes to silage, I contribute that as being 50% concentrate and 50% roughage. So that's kind of a tweener, okay? And the rest of them are split out. So we have this ration that is going to be 55 to 65% concentrate. When it comes to crude protein level, we like to be at 14%. And when distillers was rampant, that wasn't a problem because we were overfeeding crude protein because that's a 30% crude protein product. We're feeding that as energy. We're getting plenty of protein. But now that we have less distillers, now we're going back to supplementing with soybean meal and things to that nature. So I want to be 14% crude protein in that starter ration. And I want the form of crude protein to be bypassed, meaning I want it to bypass the rumen because I don't have microbes in the rumen yet that are good at breaking down urea or the non-protein nitrogen to create the microbial crude protein to stimulate growth. So we want to bypass protein source. We want to have 55 to 65% concentrate. And we want that protein source to be a natural form of protein that has bypass. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about receiving calf nutrition.
When you're in the cattle business, no matter how much it's a business, it still starts with cattle. It's this basic notion that sits at the core of how we approach things at Beringer Ingelheim. We understand when you put the cattle first, it just naturally leads to doing the right things. If you want to do well in this business, you start by doing right. Take care of the cattle, and they'll take care of you.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
You start to think about receiving calf nutrition. It's not just about what we're putting in the bunk, but it's how we're putting it in the bunk and how we're reading those bunks. And so nutrition isn't just about the ration. Nutrition is about consistency of mixing. And so when we start to think about this, we start out with, do we have the proper diet? Work with a nutritionist, but I've already kind of outlined some of the things that we want in that initial ration. Make sure we buy the proper ingredients. We make sure the proper ingredients get put at the proper amounts in the mixer, and then we need to make sure that the mixer is doing a good job. And then after that, you think you're done? No, you need to deliver it to the bunk, not only in a consistent manner as far as time of day, but also in a consistent manner of from one end of the bunk to the other. We don't want to have more at one area of the bunk and less at the other end, because these calves are going to spread out across the bunk. So people say, well, how much bunk space do I need? And I don't get caught up in this with high-risk calves or newly received calves. I don't get caught up in this, well, you got to have 13 inches or 10 inches or 9 inches of bunk space. I just say, if they can all get to the bunk at once, you've got enough bunk space. And so we're going to make sure we have enough bunk space. And then the other one is how much should these calves be eating? And Todd Milton, who's one of the best nutritional consultants I know, he always says that we want calves eating 1.5% of their body weight by a week and a half on feed. So if those calves aren't consuming 1.5% of their body weight on a dry matter basis by 7 to 10 days on feed, then they're sick or they're about to get sick. And so it's a great indication as to what's going on health-wise. So proper ingredients, proper mixing, proper feed delivery, very, very important, and making sure that those calves have enough bunk space, and then watching their intakes, making sure that they get to that 1.5% by a week and a half on feed, or 1.5% to 10 days, or are vitally important. Another question I get is, how many times a day should I feed the calves? And the answer to that is however many you want. If you want to feed once a day, twice a day, or 3 times a day, it just doesn't matter. The big thing is, and why people feed multiple times a day, is because they can't fit all the feed in the bunk at once. If you can fit all the feed in the bunk with one feeding, just feed them once and be done with it. There's been enough research papers out there now to show that it doesn't matter how many times a day you feed. The thing is this: we have people that are feeding 2 ration systems, meaning they have a starter ration and a finish ration, and they're feeding 3 times a day so that they let the calves blend it in their rumen rather than going from a 1 ration to a 2 ration to a 3 ration to a 4 ration. So how many times a day you feed doesn't matter. Now, the other question I get is, what time of day should I feed? And that doesn't matter either. The thing that does matter is you understand cattle have a behavioral instinct to graze at, just like deer. They come out in the morning and in the evening. Cattle do the same thing with grazing patterns because of the prey-predator relationship. That said, if you're going to feed calves at noon, feed them at noon every day. If you're going to feed them at 6 a.m., feed them at 6 a.m. every day. It's more important to be similar to the position of the sun than it is to anything else every day. So that those cattle get used to it, they get accustomed to it, and they have a consistent intake at a consistent time every day. When we come back, we're going to wrap up on receiving calf nutrition.
So we got Batman as a puppy from a shelter, and we didn't really know much of her history or anything like that, but even as a puppy, she would have some weird pain, and it seemed like her hips or her back, or we weren't really sure. So it got to the point where she really couldn't move off of her bed at all. We would have to bring her food to her. She'd have trouble getting up the 2 steps on our back porch to get back inside the house. So then we finally got some x-rays done and found out she had really bad arthritis in her spine. And she was 2 years old with the back of a 12-year-old dog. And so we didn't really have many options at that point, and we heard about Enso Discoveries, so we took her up there. Within about 3 days, she was up walking again, running down the path when I would let her off leash, and now she's to the point where she's running sprints through the neighborhood and going up and down stairs without any problem, jumping and playing with her sister and roughhousing in the backyard. And it's just, I've never seen a miracle like this before. It's been incredible. I just want to say thank you to Enso Discoveries for giving my dog a second chance at life. She's the best thing in my whole world, and I'm so happy that she's so happy again.
As dependable as the sunrise, in dairy parlors, open pastures, on ranches and feed yards across America, a place where reputation is more than a name, where the science of healthier animals is a way of life. It's the responsibility that drives who we are and what we do. Every decision, every day. It's your livelihood and our responsibility.
Some call it a come-from-behind victory, an unlikely win, a reversal of fortune, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. This is our moment, our victory dance, because we choose confidence. We choose Zuprevo for BRD treatment. Ask your veterinarian to prescribe Zuprevo. Zuprevo is a fast-acting, long-lasting BRD treatment that you can count on to get the job done. Choose confidence. Choose Zuprevo from Merck Animal Health.
When you're in the cattle business, no matter how much it's a business, it still starts with cattle. It's this basic notion that sits at the core of how we approach things at Boehringer Ingelheim. We understand when you put the cattle first, it just naturally leads to doing the right things. If you want to do well in this business, you start by doing right. Take care of the cattle, and they'll take care of you.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hey folks, welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thompson here at Iowa State University in Ames, Iowa. Got to come back home to Iowa, and I know some people said they're not used to seeing me in red, but it's just a different shade of purple. But anyway, when we're talking about feeding calves, when we're going to move from what we call a 1 ration to a 4 ration. So when we have a 4 ration system, we're going to start out at 65% concentrate, and then we're going to incrementally move up the percent of concentrate in that ration. So we go from 65% to 75% concentrate to 85% concentrate to 92% concentrate. So we have 4 rations starting at 65% corn, vitamin, mineral, protein, fat, premix to 92% concentrate. So we're stepping down the roughage and we're stepping up the concentrate. Now, people will ask, well, how often do you change the rations, or how soon? And here's my rule of thumb. If these are yearling calves and they come into the feedlot, I'm going to, about every 5 days, change the ration. I'm going to start out and let them have 5 days on the 1 ration. I'm going to move them to the 2 ration after 5 days. At day 10 on feed, I'm going to move them to the 3 ration. And then at day 15 or day 20, I'm going to move them to the 4 ration. So as we have a 4 ration system, that's how I'm going to move them up. Now, if I have high-risk calves or calves come in that have health issues, generally speaking, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave them on that 1 ration until the health of the pen is straightened out. That might be 10 days, it might be 20 days, it might be 45 days. But that 1 ration is when I have the highest protein level, where I have the most hay for those calves to fill up on. It's also where you have the highest levels of vitamins and minerals and things to that nature that are really, really good to help as antioxidants to help the immune system. So what I'll do with calves is I'll say we're going to leave them on the 1 ration until they're straightened out. And once the health is straightened out, then when I move them from the 1 ration to the 2 ration, or up to 75% concentrate, now they're programmed that 5 days on the 2 ration, 5 days on the 3 ration, and now they're on the 4 ration. But I think it's vitally important that if you'll take that time on those high-risk calves, feed them some hay coming off the truck, switch them to the 1 ration or your starter ration until the health is straightened out, then you can program them. I think you're going to be so much happier with the outcome, not only on the health side of things, but also with the performance. So we've covered a lot of different things where it comes to nutrition. There's a lot more that we can cover, but I think that'll get your calves started. That'll get you down the road. And if you have any questions, you can come and find us. You can find me on the web at www.doctalktv.com. My email at Iowa State University is thompson1@iastate.edu. Remember, always work with your local veterinarian. And if you want to know more about what we're doing, just send us a line. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here at Iowa State University, and I'll see you down the road.
DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals. ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.